Hey, Pori. Welcome back. So I keep making clever little puns or whatever on Mega Man. Like first it was Mega Man, Burger Man, Burger Mern, Marjorie Man, and then it was supposed to be Murdery Man. But apparently Twitch does not like the title Murder. The title of the video having murder in it. Greetings, you have entered the ship's ballroom. If you are new here, look for the dance tutors. You learn how to dance in 5 simple steps. Taking a dip. Ow, I ran right into that. Wow, free energy tank, awesome. Wow, this is garbage. I don't think I can make that jump. How are you feeling for it? How are you feeling tonight? Glad to hear it. Ooh, that sounds pretty good. Here's hoping. Whoa, that was speedy. That was speedy as fuck. Ow. what's down there. So that's what's down there. No, not the bees! Not the bees! Not the bees! Essentially, yeah. Reminds me of my bee shield in D&D. Simply put, this is a solid level with some nice touches. This entire level has a nice flow to it. Generally, it just feels well-paced and everything feels intentional. The varying speeds of the conveyors usually feels fine, but sometimes it doesn't. That's really where my main issue is. There's no real visual indicator for how fast or slow conveyors. Maybe try making the different speeds different colors, or put enemies on them so you can see and the speed is drastically different. There are a few spots where this is an issue, but overall it's good. The level looks and sounds good, and it's generally fair. At the one midpoint, there's a jump that's tricky, but not in a fun way. Adjusting little things like that in an edit would be good. The level doesn't push the limits, but it's executed well. Blue robot on conveyor going really fast. You did some really nice stuff here, though at times it felt a little too empty. I have to say though, the fast conveyors were really funny and so unexpected. Besides that, I really enjoyed the low platforming section over the bottomless pit. That was a nice challenge. As I said though, there were parts where not much was happening, sadly. To be fair though, that did help in not making it frustrating, so yay? Usually judging requires me to guess what the level designer was thinking. Thankfully, this level's overly generous dev room spells out your thought process in lavish detail, which means I can point to exactly where you went wrong. As for the level itself, I had the classic introduce obstacles separately then combine later mindset throughout the majority of the level. There's two problems with this, one minor and one major. The minor problem is that this classic mindset is anything but. Very few Robot Master stages actually introduce gimmicks separately and then merge them. When they do, it's usually on one incidental screen towards the middle of the level, e.g. Sheepman, Windman, Flatman. This is a common misconception, albeit one that doesn't make for bad levels. Arguably, it's so common because it can make for fun levels when done right. The major problem here is that you've chosen to combine Uranus platforms with conveyor belts, when Uranus platforms are conveyor belts. They're skinned differently and they drag you down rather than left or right, but they're still just 16 by 16 tiles that will kick you off them unless you do a bunch of short jumps. You're not combining Gimmick A with Gimmick B, you're combining Gimmick A with Gimmick A. Much as I hate to say it, I think you inadvertently picked a double oil box. As for the rest of the level, we've correctly noted you are way too generous with pickups, even if we ignore the EW Mew meme going on in the dev room. The 3 boss fights were fun, although the Honey Woman setup crashed the game for me when I hit her Honey Blob on a conveyor belt. I actually had more fun figuring out how to cheese the conveyor belt sections with Rush Coil than I did going through them legit. So yeah, I think you succeeded at making a middle-of-the-road level. Hopefully with time and feedback you can get out of the dead zone of middling entries and make something really great. I think I missed the dev room. There's a lot of design elements that don't really get consciously thought about while playing, and making most levels. I feel like empty space is one of those things, at least when it comes to Mega Man design, because that's pretty much the biggest problem with the level. The sheer amount of empty space, clogging it with enemies wouldn't really have solved the problem because it doesn't really help everything stop being so big and empty, especially when the stage goes underwater. The lack of any real thing just lets you cruise over whatever you want, and the enemy placement is so scarce, you hardly think about it. That said, for our first real go-around at a level, it certainly isn't a bad showing. It just doesn't really manage to find anything to make it stick out. There were some incredibly speedy conveyor belts which just end up being confusing due to the lack of indication that you're about to zoom to the other side of the screen, and it's probably for the best that they hardly appeared in any actual threatening capacity. And yet I wonder if there was a better way to convey speed, if new ideas could have helped spice things up a bit. All in all, when one has 48 hours to come up with a breathtaking idea, I understand it's far easier said than done. At the very least, it's a good lesson to take forward when you're not dealing with a tight time limit. Step 1. Denial. If you get accused of not knowing how to dance, say it's a new dance they've never heard of until now. That's a good idea. dream is about to come true. I've been practicing Swan Lake for months, and now I'm almost ready for my debut. Just need to wait until my custom XXXXXXL tutu arrives. I guess those balloons were just for show. Commando Caverns. Interesting. Fuck me. I missed. Froggy face indeed. Eat your ass. They do look pretty goofy, don't they? Holy shit. I hate instant death so much. bird has saved me. Okay, Kitty Burb is best burb. There we go. Bzzz, it's showtime! Box Cartel member Blocky on the scene. I've got a great question for y'all out there on this stupid boat. Where the hell is that Furica Shatter Chump? I tried looking all over for them, but in the end I had to get that square machine nerd explain to me how this PA thing works. If you don't want to look like a dumb baby, Furica Shattered Dumb. Find me in Tier 6. Oh, yeah, that's true. Maybe I should have let the boss last a little longer. And when you arrive, it's showtime! This level is okay, but it has some things that need adjusting. Number one biggest issue is the backgrounds in the cave. The background looks like the foreground, and it kept messing with me. It really is hard to tell what's going on. I expect it to fall when I touch the background waterfall, and the top of the waterfall looks like a solid. It looks good, but it harms functionality. Otherwise, there are some segments where it seems like you have to use RushJet to get through, but not in a particularly creative way. I don't hate this, it's just weird and feels awkward. I kind of agree with all of this. Overall, the level isn't bad, but the testing seems lacking, making it feel awkward and incomplete. Good try, though. Okay. Thanks, Bori. Well, that was certainly clever. Using those ball machine enemies as your way to go forward is definitely something I haven't seen before. Those parts fall apart a bit, though, if you have to do them over and over again. These are the section afterwards. Now, don't get me wrong, using the bubble as a shield from the spikes is clever, even if it's cryptic. Oh, I see. That's interesting. Even if it's cryptic, the problem is the part right before the boss door. It's outright mean, with the bubble being a straight-up death sentence. And sentence at the end of the level is extra brutal. Here's a really good example of how aesthetics is about conveyance first and beauty second, because this level has tons of moments where the nice graphics do nothing to explain how the level works, and to its detriment. Take the Conroe platforms for instance. What direction do they move, and how far do they go? At first I thought that maybe they were color-coded and I just missed it, but no, it's just a guessing game. You also have a distracting waterfalls on platform background that tricks the player into thinking there are blocks that aren't there, and the last stretch of the level requires weapon use, but there's absolutely no indication that it requires weapon use. So I spent a couple minutes trying to ride an LEC bubble over a mine and a spike pit, which went as well as that sounds. Actually, that last stretch of level is bizarre. It's impossible Buster only, but if it was meant as a RushJet section, it poses no challenge whatsoever. The highlight of this level, I guess, is the segment with the gachapons, which is kind of clever and definitely a creative fusion of your assets. The problem is that I mostly spent those sections remembering how fun this gimmick was when it was in Hornet Man's stage, and how clunky this imitation of it is. Especially because you also have to contend with an endless wave of crazy raises while you're waiting for the gachapon to slowly shoot out an arcing shot that will maybe hit the block you needed to hit, provided that you're standing a centimeter away from the crazy raisy's spawn point. But eventually, I got the hang of that, and I sort of enjoyed it, maybe? I think this would be a much better level with some minor aesthetic tweaks. Adding rails to the background of the Conroe platforms, some minor gameplay tweaks, cool it on the crazy raisies, and a complete overhaul of the final stretch. There are a lot of unique things going on with the level, and a lot of solid ideas taking place. I like how a number of the enemies were used, the gumball machines even had purpose in the second half. I like how the moving platforms worked in the first half, and there were some nice challenges with that, and there were some well thought out ideas with the mines. However, for every good idea going on here, there was just some aspect that kind of soured it. Infinite spawning crazy razies does not make a section where you have to wait for the gumball machine to do its attack that can actually destroy the mines that fun. I often thought that the background piece of the waterfall falling on the rock was in the foreground due to the coloring being so similar to what I'm standing on. There were some issues with conveyance at points. The very first introduction of the moving platform wasn't great because I played the classic idiot gamer card, literally forgot what those platforms did and thought they were the Pluto ones, so that didn't end well for me. It's not a big deal, but having the very first platform not be over spikes goes a long way for teaching someone what's going on. Also, the ending kinda dipped down because I had no idea that the bubble would protect me from spikes, and while it was a unique way to get that enemy involved, I would have just assumed it was a rush jet section if it wasn't my job to investigate these things. I feel like something that managed to somehow combine the mines and platforms together, instead of a surprise get in the bubble, something you've definitely been taught to avoid up to this point, section would have ended it on a much higher note. But gripes aside, the level did manage to be a pretty good time. Interesting. Step 2. Anger. If you anger someone by bumping into them, issue them an apology. Pre-written in 2 copies. Hey! I'm not so stable, I skipped my lunch. Let's dance to table which has some punch. Huh. New funky line. Everybody. Hey, here we go. Finally our feet aligned. It's so much fun this conga line. Huh. A W tank? Wait. Okay, I'm starting to get pretty tired of all these surprises. Can one of you just wait for me normally? It's showtime! Every champ needs a shocking entrance, chump! Based on that orderly world stuff that Larker was preaching, I expected it to be more refined. That load of bull! That's just what that locker freak wants out of the doc. We all look up to him, though. As for me, well, isn't it obvious? The doc is one of the manliest people on this planet. Yeah! Why these? Manly? Hell yeah! He knows what's up! Have you seen the Wombats in his rank? They're strong, tough, manly! If I could work for him, he'd surely make me super awesome! And if I crushed you, then he'll surely join him! It's showtime! I think my robotic eardrums are going to break. Oh, you're like a yellow devil, huh? Okay, time out. Wait just a little more. Oh yeah! I might misplace 2 of my cans, but they ain't gonna help you against the 10-pack Titan. Every champ also needs a shocking exit. Aye! Awesome. Spinny pony. Look at him on full display. Curious Sky Machine. Oh, this is Metropolis Zone music. Oh, awesome, these things. Cool. Checkpoint? Thank you. I'm not sure why that key is there. Well, this is gonna make the game lag something fierce. Yeah, the chocolate zone is not easy. I was not good at Sonic either. I'm not very good at Sonic Mania either. Ow. Awesome. Crushed. Awesome. It is hilariously unfitting for Guts, man. You are right. I can't say that I had too much fun with this level. Two major things brought it down for me. One, the checkpoints. They aren't aggressively awful, but they are far enough apart that the first couple of screens of every section got boring from doing them over and over, and I just felt like I needed to practice the last few screens. Two, so much of the level has awkward jumps. Jumps that don't feel like the major challenge, but just are frustrating enough to send you back to the checkpoint over and over, which is thankfully that beat exists. To go along with this, a lot of the level was instant death based, as so many enemies are just there to knock you off the cloud platforms. Otherwise, the parts with the super fast generating clouds were really cool, and honestly the highlight of the level. The mid-boss that shot rocks onto the clouds and changed where it landed was a really good use of that. The level sure isn't awful, but I really didn't have a lot of fun playing it due to the repetitiveness and stupid deaths. I quite enjoyed this one. It supplied a lot of fun and creative platforming challenges, combining its two main gimmicks together very well. I especially liked how the clouds were used to make a dense fog to hide away spikes, The beginning part was also really cool, how you rose up to the sky machine and the sky got darker. That also served as a separation point between tutorial and actual level, which was a neat way of handling it. Overall, solid work. Most of this level's problems boil down to poor usage of the cloud platforms. The segments where they're spammed to the point where you can't see what's behind them, and you have to remember where behind the fog of platforms the spikes are. Well, that's kind of clever, but not very fun. The rest of the level, however, falters by seemingly failing to take their horizontal movement into account, meaning you'll often miss jumps or get directed into a Hotchkisson's line of fire, unless you're lucky. The level hits its nadir with the mini-boss fight, where getting it hit gives you a random chance of being knocked off a platform and into a pit, then having to waste a minute getting back to that point. In general, this level felt checkpoint-like, even though strictly speaking it observed standard screen counts. I think that's a consequence of how much of the level, especially in the second half, is over instant death. Honestly, the best thing about the level is probably the cutscene towards the beginning. That was cute. I did like the idea that you're taking a trip into the sky and onto some cool rocket ship thing. Only problem is, the level itself didn't really deliver on that promise. It might have been cool if you'd held off slightly on punching the player into the sky and had an airship aesthetic on what would then become the second half of the level. Certainly truer to the level's name. What a strange level. The first chunk introduces gimmicks well enough, if not a little cut and dry, but once we get to what I presume is the sky machine, things get weird. Most challenges become surprisingly ignorable or easily exploited. A set of 3 concrete platforms to grab a key, but really only the bottom one is required at all, or just bizarre, a section with nothing more than 3 up-moving concrete blocks, already at the top of the screen with no other obstacles. And when there was an actual platforming challenge, such as some Snake Man cloud platforming, there was at least one incident where the concrete blocks ahead of me just refused to spawn on one playthrough, but when I died it spawned just fine. The usage of keys was also surprisingly pointless, agreed. There might have been one jump where the arc to get the key was important, but usually it was just a quick and mindless detour. And while it is a creative idea to create a never-ending barrage of clouds, using them to hide spikes, instant death, or no, is pretty lame no matter which way you slice it. As an aside, while including your gimmick in your boss fight isn't a bad idea on paper, having it pretty much boil down to these parts of the boss room are unusable to you doesn't make fighting any boss more fun. Really, you nailed the title. It sure is curious. Definitely a level that could become so much more with more fine-tuning and testing. I can't say that I had much fun with this level. 2 major things brought it down for me. 1, the checkpoints. They aren't aggressively awful, but they are far enough apart that the first couple of screens of every section got boring. Oh right, I already did that. Sorry, my stomach's... I'll be right back. My stomach's a bit upset. It seems to get like this time of night. Step 3. Bargaining. If you and your partner can't decide on the next dance, ask the janitor for advice. They know. Thank you. Orbital assault. Don't know what to dance? Try one of these. Quadrille, whole pack, tango, mambo, square dance, batuk, yoblaco, rain dance, floss, kabuki, crumping, belly dance, ballet, robot dance, Gangnam style. I'm out of breath. Excuse me. Flamenco, limbo, mako, polka, waltz, tap dance, twist, minuet, hula, salsa, lazinka, eti, tectonic, foxtrot, poco, slam dancing. Or break dancing. Right, I already read that. I really wanted that. I was hoping that would work. Shit, I hate that. Yoku blocks are the worst. Unless done right. Yoku blocks. I hate yoga blocks! laser platforms. Jesus Christ. Everything here hits like a truck. Fucking Christ! I'm wasting so many E-tanks on this shit. Fuck, what is the problem with this engine spam? Why? Why did this get high marks? Oh, cool, thanks. This is trial and error. Wow, I absolutely hate this. How did this level get high marks? Oh wow, this level's garbage. I don't care how good the placement checkpoint is. I don't care how good the placement checkpoint placement is. It does not excuse this. All that for Yasichi, huh? All that for a stupid Yasichi. Gross. It was kinda gross. I'm sort of mixed on this level. The Yoku blocks are done extremely tastefully, and Yoku spikes being a part of the general formation instead of a completely separate type of obstacle was really great. The other blocks are a mix of pretty good and frustrating, but mostly because the large vertical section means you had to redo a long section. It's the same thing I find it frustrating about Elephant stage. Also, putting a checkpoint before a fairly long section is just a terrible choice. I didn't mind the mid-boss, but I didn't need to fight it over and over because of having issues with other parts of the level. Just another checkpoint or two would make this level way more fun to play. These small things may seem like quality of life changes, but they greatly impact the level as a whole. The challenges in the other rooms should be a little easier to account for this, or just make the penalty way less severe. This might be controversial, but I love the spike drop at the end. Yeah, that's controversial. It was super clever. Even if it's super hard to do on your first try, it doesn't send you back too far, so it wasn't a problem. Overall, I love parts of the level, but as a whole it becomes frustrating for me. The dreaded Yoku block level. I have to give credit because the low gravity did reduce the frustration of the whole thing a lot. Yes, it did. I agree with that, as weird as that may sound. That also means that you can cheese a few screens by just jumping to the ladder and ignoring some challenges. But hey, what can you do? One part I wasn't the biggest fan of was the spike drop at the end. While it was a neat idea, it seemed to rely more on gotcha moments. 1 second. Rely more on gotcha moments and trial and error than anything else. Or my brain is just slow. That's not out of the question yet. Then both our brains are slow. This level had some real stumbling points, most of which are screens where you have to make decisions despite not having all the facts. The vertical section at the start of the level is full of leaps of faith, for instance, where you have to go down despite not knowing what's beneath you. The longer horizontal Yoku sections are similarly awkward. Spike drops inherently have a leap of faith aspect to them, because they give you so little time to react, but the Yoku spike drop in this level is even more gratuitous in this respect because you can't even see the direction you have to move during the screen transition, giving you even less reaction time. That section, which thankfully has a checkpoint right before it, is almost entirely random chance. How does the rest of the level fare though? Alright I suppose? Some of the enemy use felt a little excessive here, such as the extended gotcha on the letter section, which gave me serious Mega Man Unlimited vibes, and it's pretty clear that you weren't sure how to use the Yoku spikes, as they're negligible in one section and used as regular spikes in the other. I think the level could have removed them entirely and been better for it. Despite all this criticism, I didn't hate the level at all. It's actually kind of fun. Provided that you like Yoku blocks, or rather don't hate Yoku blocks, even when they're used well. I thought that the walking bombs were very extra, but in a good way that kept me on my toes. In general, I think this level is a nice mix of more cerebral sections with sections that require quick reactions, and that never felt monotonous or boring. It's also a level that, Yoku spikes aside, is difficult without relying on instant death, which I greatly appreciate. I do too for the most part. There are some super obvious spots for improvement, but all things considered, I definitely enjoyed this level. See, there were sprinkles of interesting ideas here and there, but a lot of the level ends up suffering. The very first Yoku block section tried to do something cool with having a whole formation be part of the platform pattern, but then that just never happened ever again, and every other Yoku block section was the same generic stuff we're used to. Having the checkpoint be right before the slightly more tedious than usual mini-boss also just makes everything that much more of a chore. But you know, I can forgive all that if it wasn't for the absolutely terrible last section. Spike drops are stupid as is, but now it's a Yoku spike drop. You see, when you have a spike drop, the only reason it's even somewhat tolerable usually is because the screen transition gives you time to react to what's about to happen. But now you've introduced the spike showing up halfway through the screen you've created. You've created a spike drop that's not about reaction time but about trial and error, as you pretty much have to die to the spikes in each room to know where the safe spot is, or get lucky. And let me tell you, that is not the way to end your level. I agree. If I had to make a Yoku block level, I would make a Yoku block maze. A maze out of Yoku blocks. Like that one level did in MaGMML 2. Zero City. Hello? Oh, it's not responding. Okay. Interesting. So apparently the game crashed. I guess that's a good signal for me to stop for the night. Thank you for joining me. Major F in chat. The game black screened and it started not responding. What can you do? Sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to. Sometimes shit crashes. Sweet dreams.